I'm about the money. Yeah, but we got a lot of money on the line, a lot of pride on the line as well. Like you mentioned, all of us have been working to get towards this point, being involved with this game for so long, and actually coming to this point at DreamHack Summer, the biggest tournament, the LAN tournament. You and I used to meme about casting this tournament 6 months ago, and here we are. It's honestly like a fever dream. Like, being here is unheard of and like unbelievable, and I'm so happy to be here with you, man.
Yeah, and I mean, I really didn't think it would end any other way than SSG versus Impact. For a little while, you know, it looked like maybe there would be a couple of twists and turns in the bracket, and there definitely were, but at the end of the day, here we are, the most dominant team from North America, the most dominant team from Europe, converging in the finals, one from the lower, one from the upper.
Yeah, it's going to be an incredible match too. Spacestation Gaming, of course, winning in that upper bracket final, and Red Cannons being absolutely dismantled by Impact. A little bit unfortunate there for them, but at the end of the day, it is Impact. It's like I've been saying about every team that's lost to Impact. You lost to Impact. Like, what do you expect? Like, Impact is an incredibly good team, and there's no shame in that at all.
Absolutely, and here we see the trophy, the sparkly cup in the center. That's what it's all about. Very exciting. Finally be here. 2 days.
That's all you got?
2 days worth of cap. Okay.
This is why I'm the host.
Listen, all right, fine. You know what? Talk.
You did a great job, Crooks.
No, I understand. I see how this is.
We got the team rosters here. We got a Verse Blumen roster, of course, repping Spacestation Gaming. On the other side, Impact, Dizzler, Godolph, and Vague. This is going to be an incredibly tense match, Crooks. Of course, the last match was pretty much summed up by that last pick, Croak. That Croak absolutely destroying Impact in the last game of the series. Really showing how well Bloom can draft around Impact. Going to be very scary to see if Impact can handle that kind of drafting.
Yeah, you know, overconfident. SSG really forced to show their hand with that pick very early, though. They gave away the Croak a little bit early in this entire process, especially considering that they're going into a rematch against Impact. So Impact now going to be prepared for the potential for that Croak pick, and I think they're going to be a lot more wary about drafting older in particular. And if they are going to, they need to have a solution for that melee pick to try and put pressure elsewhere, because the Croak is just going to wreck the older backline in almost any circumstance.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what they could pick if they have an older against that Croak. It feels like unless they just have some range that just sits with the older forever, the Croak is just going to do incredibly well. I think it's mostly going to come down to not first picking the healer, which is definitely going to still shake up the strategy of Impact. And you know, that's what you want to do in a draft, right? You want to force your enemies to draft in a way they're not comfortable with and kind of put them out of their comfort zone. And that's exactly what Spacestation Gaming have been able to do thus far. We have the draft ready. Don't need to talk about it anymore. We got a Jamila. Spacestation Gaming dropping their own Jamila and Impact. I asked Godolph if he'd be playing the Jamila earlier on. He didn't give me any answer, but it's looking like it's what we're going to see.
You know, it's interesting because we heard early on a lot of players talking about how they believe, you know, Jamila just the best melee in the game, period. Yet, for a long time here, we haven't seen any Jamila in any of these games, and this is why teams were saving this towards the end for that last big pick, that last reveal, the card out of the hat. It's huge for Impact. This is going to be most likely Godolph on the Jamila, I believe. They tend to flex that. I believe Godolph is the dedicated Jamila player on Impact, but I guess we'll see what the role assignments are when we come into the game, a bit of a role swap. Again, I would expect to come out from Impact here.
We'll see how this goes. I really, looking at the way these drafts were set up, Godolph, picking the Iva second, I like a whole lot, because the Iva was one of the things I think they were lacking that could have solved the problem of the Rook Iva older that happened earlier. So when he picked that Iva, it made it pretty much impossible for Spacestation Gaming to pick that Rook again, because they finally had the counter with the taser and things like that. So really strong pick. It would have been really interesting to see how this draft played out as a whole, but both of the Jamilas being dropped last, both teams maybe wanting to keep it a secret.
Yeah, I think that's entirely what's going on here. As well, we have a Verse over on the Jumong, and I want to talk about how happy I am that SSG seems to have shed that sort of hesitance to play a Verse on Jumong.
Yeah,
I feel like for a really long time, they were always afraid to just pick Jumong for a Verse and build a comp around him. But we've seen that the guy can absolutely pop off with it. It's been one of his signature heroes for the entire time, really, that he's been in Battlerite. Even though the concept, the mechanics of the character have changed a little bit, a Verse as a player has only gotten stronger. Yeah. So I like the Jumong pick a lot. I think it's very sensible from SSG, and I want to see it more often.
Yeah, even though some of the intricacies of Jumong's have changed since his rework back in the day, at the end of the day, he's still a character that just needs to land M1s.
Yep.
If you have good M1 accuracy, you're going to succeed on that hero, and there are not many people in this world, if any, that have better M1 accuracy than a Verse. So the Jumong pick, like you mentioned, I'm really glad they swapped back to it. For a long time, they just didn't pick it, and we were just kind of like, why?
Yeah. it felt like it would always be good against a lot of different things they were encountering, be it the double support comp from Youngsung, the double support comp from Red Canids now. You know, it just always felt like a pick to me that was a very sensible choice, and I think they finally come around, and they're benefiting heavily from it, looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see if it works out in this draft. We're going to be on Dragon Garden Night. How do you feel this map is going to work for the Jamilas? Do you think this is favorable?
You know, it has a lot of wall real estate on either side, so I think in the same way that Rook historically has been able to set up a lot of in-caps off of the walls on Dragon Garden Night, you know, surf around the walls with his space. I think Jamila able to hook shot to the walls, able to jump to the walls to get that in-capping recast off more and more frequently. I like Dragon Garden Night quite a lot, I think, for Jamila.
Yeah, it's a good map for the Jumong too, right? Yep. Like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, excellent map for Jumong. Just a wide open, straight line. You can fire M2s, Rain of Arrows down that all day.
Yeah, the Rain of Arrows, the M2s, even just the M1s with that big hitbox can hit so many characters. There's a lot less room to juke on a place than, like, say, Dragon Garden Day or Blackstone Day. It's a lot tighter. Of course, that can work against the Jumong in certain situations if he ever gets caught out. But at the end of the day, if you're playing properly on the Jumong, which Averse likely will, probably shouldn't get caught out.
Yeah, I think it seems relatively unlikely. SSG as well appear to be on a bit of a streak. They seem on fire. They're working together a lot better. We noted Bloom's older ultimates looking a lot stronger today. He's definitely been, you know, watching the replays, thinking about what happened last game, you know, what happened yesterday, trying to change up his playstyle a little bit, and they've been playing around each other very well.
And of course, Spacestation Gaming coming from the upper bracket, they will have to go, they will have to have a bracket reset if they lose the first match. Impact, they will have to win 2 best-of-5s, Crooks. So if Impact wants to win this game, they're going to be able to need to win twice the amount of games that Spacestation Gaming will have to. So they have a tall mountain to climb if they want to win this. Going to need to win 6 matches total and not let Spacestation Gaming even win 3 in the first one.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. But as we've seen with Impact, you know, watching them play against Red Canids last time and that pretty dominating, pretty assertive reverse sweep there, Impact learns as you play against them. They evolve. They start to understand what you're doing at a very, very rapid pace. So if SSG, you know, doesn't manage to close it out in a first series, that's when it gets really, really scary for them, because I feel like Impact is going to keep pulling out comps, draft adaptations, and the longer it goes, we talked about sort of the variability of the draft here. The fact that it is probably going to be a very off and on series based on who gets the better of the draft. I think the longer you drag that out, the more this favors Impact.
Yeah, especially like in the past, whenever we've seen tournaments with bracket resets with Impact in them, there have been times where like gatekeepers have come in from the winner's bracket and then still been upset, or not upset, but they've had Impact go through the lower bracket and have a bracket reset and then end up winning. So this is something that Impact is familiar with. These guys have the composure and the ability to keep calm under pressure and win these 2 series. And, you know, I wouldn't be too surprised if they did it here.
Yeah, I think it's just always a threat. They're going to be feeling good after the last series. I think it's a little bit of a bounce back. We've seen teams kind of find that second wind after dropping to the lower bracket, beating a team in there, and then getting another chance to really show what they're made of. And I think Impact absolutely making it into the grand finals here. They don't want to go home now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody does. You've made it this far. You're trying to win. You're not going to be happy with second. Impact especially lauded as one of the, probably the best team in the world, easily the best team from Europe by a large margin.
Yeah.
You know, they know they're here for a reason, and they want to close this.
Yeah, and I mean, Spacestation Gaming is there feeling the exact same thing. Known as the best team in North America by a significant margin, 15-0ing Youngsung in their match to qualify for this event. These guys are known for being the best, and either of these teams, if they lose, they will feel absolutely destroyed, as they both want to be the best. I mean, they've both been grinding for such a long time. There's a lot of pressure on the line.
There's a lot of pride on the line as well. The NA-EU rivalry, we already saw it in that interview with Averse. He said it himself. You know, the rivalry is very much a real thing. People have been wondering for a long time. The clash of playstyles, the European defensive versatility versus the North American aggression. You know, how do these things work when they meet? And I can't think of a better way to judge it than a best-of-5 grand finals.
Yeah, a best-of-5 grand finals. It looks like it actually will be vague on the older Crooks. Interesting adjustment here coming out from Impact, and it's going to be Gaddafi on that Jamila. So we do get to see it. Hopefully he's not upset that I, you know, maybe spoiled the surprise for the crowd a little bit.
I think a lot of people knew that this was coming. It was in the back pocket. It was coming eventually, and here it is, and I'm not surprised that Impact are pulling out the big comps. I like the fact they're doing it here. I think you really got to open up a potential for a bracket reset. If you're going to make that happen, you got to open up strong, right? So I'm not surprised they're not waiting until further in the series to show something like this. They're going to try and take their games early.
Yeah, of course. Our grand finals happening right now. Spacestation Gaming versus Impact. Spacestation Gaming coming from the upper bracket, having that advantage. Impact going to have to win 2 best-of-5s back-to-back. This is going to be an absolute incredible match. I personally can't wait to see it. We're going to get into it right now. We're not going to make you wait any longer. Spacestation Gaming versus Impact. Crooks, we are here. Dragon Garden Night, DreamHack Summer Grand Finals.
Immense start already for Impact. Look at the pressure they're asserting onto a verse, in particular God on Jamila, just running a verse. He can't seem to catch a break here. The R follow-up, thankfully not in range of that tractor beam stun. Impact maybe playing their hand a little bit too much there, as God is actually just going to get plowed.
Yeah, Gadov gets punished so hard for this. Now the blue team just falling apart here. Dizzler getting destroyed. The orb going to be taken by Bloom as well. And wow, immediately Spacestation Gaming come out with a dominant round one.
Kind of the classic caster's curse there. It looked like such a good start from Godov. He was running fast. He was running strong. He just looked so confident. He was set up, got his counter hit. That's everything you want as Jamila, and then all of a sudden just pop.
Yeah, and we spent some time talking about how cool it was that Gadov was playing Jamila. We completely ignored Proster's Jamila, and he tore up that round, running in with double the score of Gadov's Jamila. This is not a melee player you can sleep on. Proster on 0 ping when he's used to playing with 90. This is a force to be reckoned with.
Oh yeah, incredibly mechanically strong melee player. We've already seen what he can do on Shifu, and I think in a lot of ways Jamila's role in competitive threes is going to be very similar.
Rain of Arrows being dropped. Gadov, he's trying to find his way in, but he's not going to be able to land that hook shot. And wow, all of the damage coming out onto Impact already. He goes for that wall, but does not get an impact or an in cap. And this is not looking good as the counter's not procced either, Crooks. So much damage coming out, but they find the kill on Proster in the meantime. Gadov managing to live just long enough, but the older ultimate is there. They might be able to find a kill here, Crooks. A double quicksand puts out so much damage, but it's looking like they have this under control. Impact, they found the way they need to do this. The ultimate from Gadov, from Gadov. Actually, Gadov is gonna die. Dizzler's dead too? What? Spacestation Gaming winning a 2v3. What happened?
Gadov attempted to take the orb, but it just didn't work out, and Averse was able to close that kill just with some nicely placed M1s at melee range. M1 accuracy just prevailing overall for Averse. They're dealing a lot of damage with that Jumong, and man, already these rounds an absolute bloodbath. These two teams are coming out swinging so hard.
A 2v3 that even had me lost. My God, Spacestation Gaming coming back when they had no business winning this. Jeez.
I don't know. It's going to take a while, I think, to sort of feel out the tempo of this series, especially as both teams experimenting, opening up with the Jamila pick. It's going to be very interesting to see how this game in particular goes, because I think it's going to further dictate who's going to be comfortable running Jamila in the future and who may back off of that pick.
Bloom posturing very aggressively early on, but then spacing back above the wall. Playing very aggressively now is Proster, and he gets a ton of damage onto Dizzler. Look how low Dizzler is already. He finally gets some damage in return, though, onto Proster, but Spacestation Gaming, they've been able to reconnect. This orb is big, and it goes to Impact.
Yeah, nice start by them as well. Gadov getting his counter hit is going to apply that death mark to Averse, but it's not going to deal any damage. Averse prowling it off. Now Gadov forced to run. Nice mobility by him, canceling a nice cooldown by Proster as well. The older ultimate is going to follow up for an easy kill on Gadov.
Bloom's positioning with that ultimate was A1. The center of that older stun landing right on Gadov. He had no way to get out of that stun, and now Vague, the last one alive. Impact getting absolutely ran over. Vague getting no stun. Impact getting no room to breathe.
The coordination is just unbelievable from the side of SSG. Gadov definitely coming in hotter than Proster, playing much more aggressive, playing much more forward, but it seems like the calculated play of SSG is really coming out ahead in the end, especially Averse, being able to cash in that Jumong damage, as we've spoken about. And I love his build adaptation here. Double trap, prowl, just more defensive cooldowns to deal with the Jamila, combined with the potential burst of precision, adding that damage to his black arrows.
Round starting up. Round 4 already up 3-0 is Spacestation Gaming, and M2 from Averse starting this one off, and the damage output from his Jumong notoriously high, getting so much pressure out. My God, look at Iva's HP. The EXM2 and the EXM1's just dealing so much damage. Vague's doing no better, Crooks. Everybody on Impact is getting so low. This orb is desperately needed by the blue team if they want back in the round, but they don't get it. The quicksand dealing a ton of damage to the Iva, and the older ultimate coming out. They just running over Impact.
They're just giving Averse way too much space. Look at this. He's able to just do whatever he wants. Top of the score. These rounds are just going faster and faster and faster, denying the pressure. Averse just lays in with the M1s. I mean, it's unbelievable. Bloom, of course, backing him up with some super, super solid older play, and Proster making a lot of space, playing a much more sort of technical Jamila than God of waiting for the moments to get big interruptions with that hook shot so that Averse can just open up with the Jumong damage.
Yeah, Averse's Jumong has just been absolutely tearing up this stage in this tournament, and this Grand Finals is no different. 4-0 on the verge of a 5-0 sweep in Game 1. This is a scary precedent for Impact.
Impact, no stranger to the reverse sweep, though. We'll have to see how this round goes. We got Trinity Infinity spacing in over there onto Averse. Gonna prowl, try and avoid some of the damage. The EX M2 onto Iva does a decent amount of damage as well, as once again, Impact running hard.
This is exactly what you called for, though. Averse being much more pressured this round, but I'm not sure it's gonna work out as Dizzler receiving even more pressure. Proster just doing so much reliably to this Iva. The Taser Stun comes out, which does a lot of damage. The older ultimate is here now from Veg, but the older ultimate from Bloom is the answer. He's not going to get a stun on either, but Impact, they managed to get the orb.
Proster's going to get finished off by a really nicely played time bomb there. Both teams so low on HP, but in the end, Impact just barely managing to get the best of that.
Well, Crooks, you mentioned it. You talked about how good the Impact is at reverse sweeping. They start it here, 1 round back, but they still need 4 more if they want this game. However, they seem to have found out how they need to play. That pressure on the Jumong, like you mentioned, absolutely game-changing.
Yeah, it really shows. Just slowing down the just sort of energy gain, stack gain of Averse is so important. Pushing them back to that wall right at the start just granted so much more space for Dizzler. Dizzler, of course, playing Iva. It's a much more technical, almost supportive range where you're looking to just be very disruptive rather than necessarily crank out damage. I think it makes a lot of space when you can actually follow up on what Godov's doing.
Rain of arrows. It's dropped, gonna get a little bit of value, but my God, this Iva once again spacing in and getting punished so hard for it. The Phantom Cut is answered by the Zap, and the Tractor Beam comes out. A double stun is gonna be there, and my God, the damage output is massive. Getting run over is Averse and Spacestation Gaming at this point. Averse can't get away, Crooks. The Phantom Cut is applied. He has the Prowl available, but he's got no energy. He hits that 3-stack mark. He has that double black arrow, but look at that sliver of HP. He's got
literally one.
He's so low back here. The older ultimate being thrown onto Godov from Veg, and they get the kill.
They run so fast. Oh my gosh, watching those health bars drop on the side of Impact. They clean people up just with some kind of incredible pace there. Averse barely able to make it out with his life for a little while, but then cleaning up that kill easily. Man, you turn off all the names and play Spot the North American team, to be honest, because like watching Dizzler hit that space bar just at the beginning, getting in there with them in the middle with Iva just before Averse can farm those early resources, kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, Godov getting so much done. Averse even in the chat, this is some NA play. He's recognizing how aggressively Dizzler is playing, but now it's on him to adjust. Averse, he's no stranger to this play style. He beat the most aggressive Iva in North America to get here. We'll see if he can beat Dizzler. They do have still a massive advantage, but Godov has found his way in, Crooks. His counter's not proc, so he's going to have to likely back out, but he says, I don't know what I'm talking about. Godov going right in, but he's getting punished so hard for it, Crooks. The stun comes out, but a beautiful double petrify from Veg slows down 2 of the members of SSG, and Impact, they're going to back up and get the orb. Very much needed.
Veg's double petrify there, I think, is the only reason that Impact didn't just lose this game.
Yep.
Veg just slowed down the pressure, potential pressure of SSG so hard, but now SSG going to reset. Averse has all the energy, all the stacks, all the space in the world, and the follow-up could be there. Iva has used the space. SSG are going to take that as an opportunity to push forward. Jamila does not get his counter hit. He's got the death mark on him. He's going to be able to delay it a little bit with the careful space.
This is so close!
One hit off, and he manages to kill Proster.
They get the kill onto Proster, but at the end of the day, they're left with only Godov with 1 HP, and Spacestation Gaming, though Impact was able to make a comeback for 2 rounds, are going to clutch out this one. 5-2 the first round score, and SSG come in swinging.
Now, I must say, you know, that series I cast with Jolts before I casted with you, every game felt like a slog, a long match, you know, a wade through the mud. These games are so fast. It's unbelievable. These guys just hit each other so fast, so hard. The punishes are so efficient. There is no drawn-out play. There's no neutral game here.
Watching Red Cannons, you wait till sudden death every game as they play that ever-patient style, but these 2 teams, incredibly aggressive. Godov on his Jamila and Proster on his Jamila, both immediately immediately going in, going for the jugular. No chill from either of these players.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Godov runs so hard with Jamila, and at some point, you have to think, was the aggression a little bit misplaced? And I think in certain rounds, it absolutely was. He went so deep, often saved a little bit by Vague. We recognize Vague essentially single-handedly stalling their loss in that last round with a sick double petrify.
Yeah.
But Godov going so deep every single round, you got to think he's going to be, if he wants to play Jamila again, they're going to have to reevaluate how he's doing that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, a part of it just didn't work.
Yeah. There's a certain flow to the melee champions, right? When you go in and you don't get your counter proc, like we saw happen to Godov at the last round there, he just continued to go in and was punished so hard for it. You need your cooldown rotation to go well if you want to continue your aggression, and if you don't get your counter proc in situations like that, you gotta back out.
Yeah, and I must say as well, Impact, a team that we kind of lauded for their team synergy, I honestly feel as though Proster's Jamila worked with their team a lot better than Godov's did. I think his utility usage, the hook shot to cancel people's animations and whatnot, standing in front of people, threatening counter, getting those in caps to set up bear traps for reverse or damage by Bloom. I think all of that is just so high value, especially to enable a hero like Jumong.
We have a replay from the game coming up now. Of course, Spacestation Gaming winning 5-2 on Black Dragon Knight. But first here, Sliver of HP gets chased down all the way to his spawn. Proster, he has that Jamila, but it's not going to be able to do nearly enough. And Averse, these were some of the rounds where it looked like Impact might be able to come back. He couldn't quite handle that pressure, but at the end of the day, it was too little too late in Impact. Though they made an adjustment, they couldn't hold on.
Yeah, but I think this is also sort of a part of the Impact process, right? As you start to make adjustments by any means possible, right? If something isn't working, you turn the switch all the way the other direction and see if that gets you closer to fixing it. And I think it definitely did.
Yeah.
The Ultra Aggression bought them a couple of rounds. They maybe learned a little bit more about this. So now it's all about how do you dial it back? How far back do you pull it? How do you make that adjustment? And I think if there is a team capable of doing that, it absolutely is Impact. You don't write these guys out until the best of 5 is done and dusted.
So Blackstone Arena Day is our next map. Do you expect that we'll see these Jamila picks shine through, or do you expect to see a change on this more open map?
I think the Jamila picks could still be interesting, as there are a lot of walls kind of bordering the center on that Blackstone Day. That being said, I think it's also a very likely map for an Averse Jumong. We do have the picks starting to come out. SSG going to, of course, lead with older Impact as well. Leading with older, SSG responding with the Jumong Impact on the Rukon.
Interesting. So the Rukon pick is brought to the table by Impact, but we found ourselves in a similar situation to what we did in Game 4 of our last best of 5 between these two teams. The Croak pick wide open on the table against this first pick holder from Impact. We'll see what this third pick is brought to, or what is brought by Spacestation Gaming, but I'm incredibly scared for Impact just simply because of this Croak.
Yeah, and Rukon, it seems it doesn't do a whole lot to slow down that Croak pick either. So unless Impact has a range selection here that they feel can really stall the Croak, I think they're going to be in a little bit of trouble here. They've already locked the older, they've already locked the Rukon blind. This feels like a Croak pick.
What last pick can they even bring to the table to fight against this Croak?
It's so difficult to think of what they could play. At this point, they have a couple of things on the table. We haven't seen Croak in competitive play all that much, so to claim that I'm super familiar as far as range goes is a little bit weird. I think Destiny seems like it could be a potential pick. That being said, the stealth, can mess with you pretty hard on the Destiny.
Maybe something like Jade? We've seen Dizzler's Jade be successful in the past, but of course this is a hard meta to play Jade in. Something we haven't seen in quite some time after her slew of nerfs. Dizzler, he had a couple weeks where he played that snipe reset Jade and was absolutely dominant in Europe, but I'm not sure we'll see it now.
They are going to lock the Jumong for Impact.
Okay, we see the Jumong and we see the Croak. This is a scary sight for Impact.
Yeah, they can't feel too good about this. This is really going to be, it's on Dizzler to perform on that Jumong now. He's going to have to straight up outvalue Averse, and when these teams are clearly matched so evenly in so many ways, it's going to be very difficult to do that because once again, this Croak pick for SSG, absolutely terrifying to deal with if you're Impact. That is just such an on-paper matchup win for the Croak against those older comps. He's just going to be able to do whatever he wants. Proster, very, very aggressive Croak, going to buy Averse a lot of space, and the Vague Rukon, again, going to have to be running interference. We talked about it. Rukon, such a utility-focused melee. He wants to be in the middle, absorbing cooldowns with that consume, grabbing people, getting them in places they don't want to be, and then poking with Shadow Bolt, and of course getting that charged M1 for big silence setups.
Yeah.
He wants to be doing all these things. Is he going to be able to get in and do that? We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's an incredibly tall order, and of course, a verse on the Jumong, something I'd be incredibly scared of as any melee. I'm very concerned for the Rukon. I feel like if he doesn't have a favorable start and Jumong is able to farm up those 3 stacks and that 25 energy, a verse might just run away with this game, as when he has all those resources, when he has double space, when he has prowl, when he has trap, Rukon simply can't stick on him. So I'm a little bit concerned here. If a verse has a good start, these games might just fall apart for Impact.
Oh, I think it's entirely possible, as well as seeing that, you know, God of on that older is just going to be preoccupied completely with fending off Proster's aggression the entire time. There's going to be nothing to stop Jumong from just doing Jumong things.
Yeah, the Jumong, an incredibly strong pick, especially in the hands of a verse. We'll see if he's able to do it. The Croak and older as well. Just this pairing as a team comp, there's so much synergy between the melee player and the range, but rather the support player. The Croak, of course, with the quicksand combos off of the in-cap. There's just so many things that Spacestation Gaming can do to deal damage to Impact. I'm a little bit concerned that Impact simply won't have an answer.
Yeah, this last-minute Croak pick from last game has it changed everything.
I've seen this story before.
Yep.
I've seen this movie. Game 2 of the Grand Finals. Impact versus Spacestation Gaming. Let's get right into it. Here we are, Crooks, right into it. The Jumong 1v1 happening to start things off, and you know, it's looking like Dizzler having the more favorable of the 2 trades. Croak getting hit in stealth by an M2 of Dizzler. Very nicely played, but look at Veg's HP. This is not good, and this is exactly what I was worried about.
Yeah, Proster's just being able to do whatever he wants. Nice movement there, shimmying pretty much everything Rukon's trying to throw out. He's going to throw the in-cap on the orb in an attempt to